Bursa Malaysia Securities had on Wednesday filed contempt proceedings against Serba Dinamik Holdings and its directors in relation to the group's failure to reveal the fact-finding update of its special independent review done by Ernst & Young Consulting. This comes following Serba Dinamik's compound by the Securities Commission for submitting a false statement involving the revenue of 6.01 billion for FY20, which had previously been red flagged by external auditor KPMG. Bursa Malaysia filed an ex parte application to seek leave from the court to proceed with committal proceedings owing to Serba Dinamik's failure to comply with a February 7th High Court order to reveal the FFU within 2 market days from the date of the order. Serba Dinamik also failed to get a stay of the High Court decision on Monday. In the application, the boss operator named the company along with its directors, Datuk Dr. Muhammad Abdul Karim Abdullah, Datuk Awang Daud Awang Putra, Datuk Abdul Kadir Shahib, Datuk Syed Nazim Syed Faisal and Noor Azri Noor Azharai as contemnors. If found in contempt, the firm could be staring at a fine while the directors themselves could be fined or jailed for their failure to take all necessary steps as a director to ensure the group complied with the order. To recap, yesterday 4 of Serba Dinamik's executives, namely Karim, Syed Nizam, current CFO Azan Azmi and VP of Accounts and Finance Muhammad Hafiz Ohman, were each compounded 3 million ringgit each. Another 1 million was imposed on Hafiz for falsifying the accounting records of Serba Dinamik subsidiary. Aside from Bursa Malaysia, Serba Dinamik is also involved in legal proceedings with EY Consulting, initiating a lawsuit against the firm on November 5th last year, in which the oil and gas group sought to restrain EY Consulting from sharing any findings or opinions on the FFU. Maybank Group President and CEO Datuk Sri Abdul Farid Alias said that while the group's economic forecast for Malaysia took into account the transition to endemicity, it did not factor in the Russia-Ukraine war, which will impact the global economy. Speaking at a press conference held after Maybank's virtual AGM, Abdul Farid says that while the direct impact of the conflict is going to be insignificant, he cautions that its impact on Europe's economy as a potential second-order effect. This may or may not affect the economies of Malaysia and other countries in the Southeast Asian region, given that Europe is both a major investor and trade partner. He says that Maybank was on target when it comes to the current progress of the economy, that by April 2022, with regard to the borders that will be reopened and more activities will be permissible compared to before. Maybank's outlook is that GDP growth will come in at about 6% and within the 5.3 to 6.3% forecast that Bank Negara has, while its inflation rate forecast is about 2.7%. He also thinks there is no pressure for BNM to raise overnight policy rate during the first 3 quarters of 2022, despite the global central banks doing so, because Malaysia's inflation is not very acute. Abdul Farid says that the OPR is seen at about 2% by the end of the year, as Maybank is expecting a 25 BPS increase in the final quarter of 2022. Finance Minister Tunku Datuk Sri Zafrul Abdul Aziz and Health Minister Khairi Jamaluddin appeared this morning before the Public Accounts Committee to testify in proceedings relating to the development and acquisition of the MySejahtera mobile application. During the nearly 3-hour meeting, Zafrul presented in the first hour, followed by Khairi and Treasury Sec-Gen Datuk Asri Hamidin alias Hamidon, who took over as the Finance Minister had to leave for another appointment. Speaking to reporters after the meeting, Khairi says that he briefed the committee on the MySejahtera app since day 1 of its inception, which was before he was even appointed as Health Minister. He reiterates that he was transparent and shared all documents regarding the app with the PAC. In the coming weeks, the PAC will also call the Malaysian Administrative Modernisation and Management Planning Unit, the National Cybersecurity Agency, the National Security Council, and the Prime Minister's Department in the proceedings. The PAC investigation revolves around the procurement of the MySejahtera app by the government. The controversy began after the news broke that the app's developer, Entomo Malaysia, is in a 5-year license agreement with its nominee subsidiary, MySJ, for the transfer of the MySejahtera app for a 338.6 million ringgit price tag. Last December, the PAC had said that the government should not be paying for the use of MySejahtera as it was developed as a CSR initiative and that the government should take over operations of the app as it is part of the national healthcare system. Khairi has since insisted that the government has so far not approved or made any payment to the app's operator and that negotiations are still ongoing to achieve a win-win situation. Lpi Capital saw its net profit for the first quarter of FY22 drop by over 25% to 61.5 million due to lower investment income and profitability of its wholly owned insurance subsidiary. Revenue declined by 10% to 397.7 million from 440.8 million a year earlier, mainly due to a 7% decline in gross earned premiums. According to Chairman Tan Sri Dr. Teh Hong Piao, subsidiary Longpak Insurance's profitability during the quarter was partly affected by the additional cost of 6.4 million incurred for the reinstatement of reinsurance as a result of last December's major flood. Looking ahead, he says demand for insurance is expected to increase as the economy recovers and business activities resume. Teh says that despite the headwinds, the group is confident that with its strengthened distribution channel and concerted efforts in executing its business plans, LPI will be able to report a satisfactory performance for the remainder of FY22. PN17 in-flight caterer Brahms Holdings has submitted an appeal to Bursa Malaysia Securities against the commencement of delisting procedures on the securities of the company. In a boss filing, Brahms said its board of directors had on Thursday submitted an appeal to the regulator against the commencement of delisting. The company said that given that the appeal was submitted within the appeal timeframe, the removal of the securities of the company from the official list of Bursa on April 20th will be deferred pending the decision by Bursa on the appeal. Brahim says an announcement in relation to the outcome of the appeal will be released in due course. Brahim's was classified as a PN17 stated listed issuer on February 28, 2019 after its shareholder equity fell below the 25% threshold. For FY21, Brahim's narrowed its net loss to 12.49 million from 103.1 million in FY20, while revenue for the same period declined by 59% to 33.54 million.